Good morning.
Good morning.
On behalf of Chancellor Alexander and the Watson Memorial Library staff, I'm very pleased to greet you guys and to open this 60th anniversary of the American Library Association Library Week program. ECG, it's all yours.
And good morning again. I'm Shanice McGee, and my task today is to introduce the panelists today. And the topic of the discussion will be evolving roles of the library in higher ed. To my right is Kathy Anderson. She is currently the Associate Librarian at the University of Arkansas at Monticello. She serves as the Discovery Service and Success Librarian. She holds a master's in Information Science for the University of North Texas and holds a Master's Learning Systems Technology from the University of Arkansas, Little Rock. In my middle is Brent Etzel. He is the director of Arkansas Tech. He earns a master's degree from Franklin College of Indiana, a master's in library science from Indiana University, a master's of art degree in history from the Illinois State University. He completed a leadership institution for the academic libraries at Harvard University Grad School of Education. And to the far left, right, is Britt from Hendrix. She's the director. She earns a BA from Tucson College, a master's of library science and information science from the University of Texas at Austin. She is an editor at the Arkansas Journal, and she serves on the Arkansas Library Association Board. Okay, to begin, Lavorius asked me to speak about the evolving changes in the library and what we're doing. At UAM, we just got students' library commons in our library, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Here are some pictures of our new library learning commons and some of the seating. So we wanted to focus on group collaboration among students and faculty. So we had, so my role changed last year to Discovery Services and Student Success Librarian. So Discovery Services part is the electronic resources, systems, and the serials. And the Students Success part is to be the liaison to the academic campuses, academic support services on campus. So like academic student engagement, we call it, instead of student affairs. And the Blackboard and anything else that's going on campus. So I'm the liaison to the library to those different support services on campus. So part of that is that I encourage the library staff and the librarians to actively involve on campus activities. So one of the campus activities was Freshman Move-In Day last year. So it was about 4 of us that volunteered for Freshman Move-In Day, which is actually very fun. You know, hard work, but very fun. But 4 of us volunteered last year, and so all the volunteers get t-shirts. So some of us were greeters, some of us actually helped move their belongings into their dorm rooms. So each of the volunteers were assigned residence halls on campus. So I got to greet some of the students, talk to the parents, grandparents, give hugs, condole, some of them, they were really upset because their baby was going to school. So, but we got to make that personal connection. So when the students started school that week, if they had any questions or anything, they had a point of contact to come to, okay? Another thing that we started 3 years ago was freshman group orientation. So the chancellor picked about 30 people on campus to be group leaders for freshman orientation. Last year, this is my class, had about 25 to 30 students. So we all met in the, where were we at? We were in the gym. And so she greeted everybody, we gave them t-shirts, and and they had a motivational speaker come and talk to them and everything. So we divided into our groups. Everybody had a group number. So we took our group, gave them a tour around campus, and went to our designated spot. This is where we at, is the Sandra Campbell Memorial Classroom, where I took my group to. So we go over things about what's on campus, the point of contact for people. They fill out the needed forms that the administration needs to have filled out and turned in. But we make that personal connection with the students, just to make sure that they know that, okay, there is some help here and we're willing to help you. So I have made connections with students from 3 years ago that still come in the library and talk to me and ask me questions, tell me how it's going in their school career and things like that. So I think it's a wonderful thing to do with your library. Our next thing is something that sometimes we don't think about a lot about in libraries, or we try to, and it doesn't work as well as we want to, and we kind of put it on the back burner and try again. But collaboration with faculty is one of the things that we really try to do at UAM. And I have one collaboration person that I collaborate with a lot, and her name is Dr. Walters. She's an English professor on campus. So this is her class. So I meet a lot with her class. She takes her class on trips to England. Last year she also went to Italy. So I connect with the class. They come in, I do the library instruction like we normally would, give them a connection. They get their resources together because they have to write papers for her and things like that. But we have a connection. And so when she goes to England or to Italy or wherever, we Skype. I ask them questions when they read the assigned material. And when they go and actually visit the places, I ask them, is it anything like the book that you read? So we get that connection. And when they come back, they usually do poster sessions or some kind of, other than a research paper for their class, just to connect the dots. So that has been really successful for me. And then as a result of our collaboration, it also helps the faculty member and the librarian. So through our collaboration, we were able to publish in Arkansas libraries, and we were able to do a presentation in Georgia. And we were at the Georgia's Writers Museum after our presentation. So we got invited to do a presentation about collaboration in Georgia. So those are some of our collaborations that we did together, some of the articles that we have gotten published. And at CMAG right here on the right is the collaboration that we did in Georgia. Here's another picture of Dr. Walter and I and some of her students. And that's the Sandra Campbell's room. That was before we finished renovating, actually. Now, another thing that I was able to do is I was able to teach what we call our first year seminar course. And our seminar course is geared towards students that make under 14 on the ACT, to help get them grounded and get them motivated to learn, and hopefully they'll be successful in college. So this is a picture of my classroom, but the students that are in the front are Dr. Walter's students. So she teaches British literature, Shakespeare. So what they actually did, this is a critical reading skills course. So in order to get them interested in reading and motivated in reading, they did a reading of a play to show them that there's all different types of reading. So it really got a lot of my students interested and said, I could hear them when they were talking and when they were acting out the play, that I could, as I was reading, I could picture it in my mind. And a lot of times when you read something, if you're not a very good reader, you have problems picturing what's going on, or comprehending what you're reading. So to read it out loud and to act it out loud helped my students connect those dots. That's a picture of the students right there. So it was around Halloween, so they did a little short Halloween play, and then they did a short Shakespeare play as well. So my thing today is just to make sure that you look at all different types of collaboration, ways to connect with the students, think outside the box. So to help them, in order to make sure that the libraries are an active part of their students' success here on college. Okay. Another collaboration that I did is with the Blackboard on our campus, and I collaborated with the instructional technologist, and we created a library tab in Blackboard. So when they log into Blackboard, they immediately see the library, they see the services that we provide, they see all of our pictures, our contact information. That way they don't have to log out of Blackboard, go back into the library's homepage just to do their research. So we did that as well. And that's about all I have for you. Anybody have any questions, or you want to wait until afterwards for the questions? I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yes.
All right, I'm Brent Etzel. I'm the library director at Arkansas Tech University. And yeah, LeVaris asked me to talk about the evolving role of the library in higher education. And I'm going to tell a personal story because I decided I wanted to be a librarian in college in 1994, the year I graduated. And I feel like there's been a bait and switch, because when I decided I wanted to be a librarian, the college where I was, we had a card catalog. We didn't have an online catalog yet. We didn't have the internet. That was like 1995. When I would be in the computer lab, there was the beginning of people like giggling, and because they were in chat rooms. I've still never been in a chat room. But if we weren't working on our paper, we didn't have the internet served. We had Minesweeper, and we had Solitaire, and that last semester we had Mahjong. And so I found it was really just Windows trying to get us to learn how to use a mouse. So I signed up to go to Indiana University, and that summer in '95, before I started, got on the World Wide Web for the first time, and I saw webcams. And I could see the world, and that sounds so like simple for anybody who's under the age of 45. You think, well, yeah, it's the internet. That's what you do. It was brand new. It was so new. And so the things I wanted to be a public librarian because I liked doing research. When I was a college student, I would sometimes disappear in the library. I'd work on my own research assignments that I decided I was interested in something. I was interested in Alaska. So I would get the Reader's Guide, which, if you're under 45, you don't even know what that is. It's a print index. Before you had databases, you had to open up a book and just pick a year, 1992, and then look for articles about Alaska, and then figure out what the citations meant, and then go see if your library had the journals that were listed in the index. We don't have to do that anymore. No. So when I get to get a master's degree in library science, like those of you who are librarians, you're learning how to do the discipline. But in 1995, there was sort of this panic of, wow, the internet, it seems like this is going to be important. And I remember the computer lab that was dedicated to our library program, they were so proud of the fact that the new PCs in the lab had Pentium processors, and we now have computers with 1 gigabyte. Can you say it with me? Gigabyte. We knew the word kilobyte. The giga thing was brand new. I got a cheap phone in my pocket with like 64 gigabytes. So it has changed, and I would say sort of my thesis is that over the last 25 years, libraries, and particularly academic libraries, are in a race with technology, because just think about you got a smartphone in your pocket. Did you have a smartphone in your pocket 10 years ago? Do you have Wi-Fi in your house? Do you have Wi-Fi here in the library? These are things that did not exist even 15 years ago. So the building where I work now, I've been at Tech now for 4.5 years. The building where I work is about 20 years old. It was built in 1999. you have to imagine that when the architects were building it or designing it is 96, 97, the internet's brand new. We're on what, it was a phrase we used to, like 10 years ago, we were talking about Web 2.0, and you probably don't even know what that is now. But we were on Web 1.0. So there wasn't a whole lot of anticipation of where our space needs going to be 20 years, because we just didn't know. So it's a beautiful building. If you see ads, we don't have a big advertising budget, but if you do see an ad, they usually show my building because it's nice. When it was built, they thought microfilm was that was the paradigm we were in. That's how you store information. We didn't think about doing it digitally. So on the first floor, actually I'll point to it. These two windows right here. That's the microfilm room. The microfilm had a better office than the president at my university. So 1,800 square feet. So many times over the size of this room, dedicated to the storage of old periodical information. And if you're an education person, ERIC documents. We had 800,000 microfiche of ERIC documents that we've only just thrown away in the last 18 months. We had 2,400 linear feet for print periodicals. So that sounds like a lot. It's actually, if you've got 30-foot rows and you got 7 shelves, that's 210 feet. So if you add, it's like 10 sides of, so 5 different columns of periodical shelves. Because again, the thought wasn't there yet that if you're going to do research in a print periodical, you're just going to go to a database and it's going to be there electronically. So the space was created to keep the hard copy, the analog periodical information. Huge spaces for GovDocs. I took a government documents class in 1996, completely worthless now, because all that stuff's online. We had 24 computers for about 4,000 students. We got like 8,000 students now. So the building is actually, we're kind of bursting at the seams because tech has grown. But when I got there in 2014, we had 2 printers for 8,000 students on campus on the first floor, and we had 1 printer on the second floor. So that has changed. Okay, and just to give you, I thought, let's talk about money. And some people, they get graphs, some people don't. I'm a graph person. This shows you how we spend money on our resources. When people talk about libraries, they say, oh, you're a librarian, you must like to read books. You must have a lot of books. I love libraries because I love books. I think my holdings budget, the research resources budget, we've got like $600,000. I'm spending like $58,000 on books. So about 10%, not even 10%. But that yellow line, that's the online databases. And I didn't go, if I'd gone to 1998, that yellow line would have been at the base. That would have been 0. It was only in 2001 that we started paying for databases. That gray line at the bottom, that's funny to me. That's the microfilm budget. And when I got there in 2014, we were still spending $25,000 a year on micro. So, and that's really one of the challenges for librarians in academic settings is not getting kind of comfortable and just doing things the way you've always done them. My predecessor did a lot of great things, but one thing in the budget was they were always buying the same microfilm. They'd add the databases. So there would be some, like a title like Forbes magazine. It's a business popular magazine. We bought the print copy of it. We then sent the print copy off to be bound, so we're going to pay for it a second time. We were buying the microfilm for it, so that's the 3rd time we're buying it. And we had it full text online and business source complete. So we were paying for it 4 times. So resources are limited. So you've got to look for that duplication and realize, how are the students accessing this stuff? Increasingly, it's not just that they don't want to go find a microfilm, that they have it online. But so many of our students now are online students and they just can't come and see the stuff that we've got. The orange line periodicals, that's a bit misleading because back in 2002, those were print periodicals. And by 2018, nearly all that's electronic. So we know students don't want to go find it on the shelf. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like if we only have it in microfilm, I apologize. I'm so sorry. It's like I'm, informing them of the loss of a loved one. You're going to lose some time here. It's on microfilm. But yeah, so the books and we've only just had a bump up on the book budget because we got a student, $1 student fee added. But yeah, the periodicals are pretty stable. and then the databases. And another challenge for academic libraries is that when you're spending so much of your money on databases, you're not paying for the physical object. Like, that's the one good thing about microfilm. That's the one good thing about bound periodicals, is that you paid for it, it's on your shelf, it's yours. Students want it online. They want to just get to it quickly. The Google effect. If I could just, now I'm 3 clicks away, I want to have that article. So we're paying for access, but we're not paying for the physical object. So if you cut your database subscription, I cut my database subscription, poof, we spent all that money, but we don't have it anymore. So that's a real challenge for us, is that we need to figure out, are there things that we can pay for permanently? Are there database resources we can buy permanently? JSTOR comes to mind. Or are we just paying for the access? And a lot of times, we're paying 5% more a year, 8% more a year for the same stuff, but our budgets are not going up 5 to 8%. Okay, so how has my building changed in the last 20 years? Well, one of the cool things my predecessor did was he wanted to find a sort of niche. What can we do that's special for Arkansas Tech? And he himself is a trumpet player. It's Bill Parton's guy I'm talking about. So he had a special place in his heart for music. So one thing he made sure of is that we had a computer lab dedicated to music or multimedia research. Now, it has a lot of analog in it. We have our old LPs. We have a lot of, it's still that warm sound. We're hipsters. Listen to our LPs. A lot of CD recordings. And yes, we've got the Naxos library, which is an online classical and jazz database. I personally found Spotify is a better collection than Naxos, and Spotify is free. You can stand the commercials. But we have a big band. You've got a big band too at Pine Bluff, right? I'm guessing. So students in band want to hear the old recordings from our Arkansas Tech Band of Distinction. So that's a physical object that we keep. But the media lab, it's 12 computer stations, and you do all kinds of video and audio editing. And my librarian, my music librarian, he has a class, and he teaches students how to do video editing, how to do audio editing. Now, that particular guy, Dr. Leibarger, he had a vision for creating an audio studio in the library, accessible to all students. And so that's a picture of what he's created, the audio lab. It's a state-of-the-art recording studio, and whether you're a music major or a business major or an education major, if you want to come in and play your trumpet, if you want to rap, if you want to do a podcast, it's available. So it's kind of not intuitive to have an audio recording lab in a library, but there was a need. And that's another kind of big thing with academic libraries in the 21st century, is we can't just be periodicals and books anymore. So where are the needs that are being created by the technology of the 21st century? And is it right and is it good for librarians to seize the opportunity to fill those needs? And so this is a way that we're filling the needs for people who want to make recorded dialogue or recorded music. And then I told you about that 2,400 square feet of periodicals. We didn't need it anymore. The education building had an old education library. They needed the space. So we worked out a good deal. They got office space, and I got their books. So we've got a 9,000 item, it's like a kid's library. We might have one here, I don't know. But it's our K through 12 books, nonfiction, fiction, multimedia stuff, maps, globes, projects that education students can take when they're doing their student teaching. So that's like 1,500 square feet. I list the items, but it's a big chunk of space in our library just for the education majors. Of course, if you want to read, I don't know, Judy Blume books or Harry Potter or I don't know what, that's available to you even if you're not an education student. But we dedicate, it's almost like a school library lab within our academic library. Some more changes. We have, I don't know how it works here, we have a IT department, and they control the 3rd floor of our library. They decided, wouldn't it be cool to have a 3D printer? And they made it free to the students. And everybody thinks that anything in the library is library. Everybody who works in the library is a librarian. So we get, for better or for worse, when they do cool stuff, we get credit. So people think I've got a free 3D printer. But if, but if they're rude or something, it's like, I got a librarian on the third floor. Like, I don't have any librarians on the third floor. The Tech Learning Center, I didn't have a good picture of it, so this is the markup that was by the designer. That 1,800 square foot microfilm space, I didn't need it anymore. And my previous vice president of academic affairs said, do something with that space. We need more study space. Tutoring Center needs more space on campus. So on October 1, I found out that by January 1 of last year, he wanted me to convert that. So that 800-some thousand microfiche of ERIC documents, they're in landfill somewhere. We realized if you laid them out end to end, they would make it all the way from Russellville all the way to North Little Rock. We had so many microfiche. But that was the microfilm room, and now it's a variety of collaborative student space. So if you've got a group of 8 students, you can go to those yellow seats, and if you just got a bunch of people and you want to talk, you can go up to the high chairs. If you just need oftentimes students don't realize it's theirs because there's a bit of it. You can see it, but you got to kind of walk. There's glass wall, like windows in the wall, so you can see it, but you got to kind of walk around a corner to get to it. So sometimes, if you just want to get away from people, so it's whatever you want it to be, but it's completely student accessible. And then we've got a nice collection of DVDs, and a lot of it's educational, but a lot of it's not. And we want students to stay at Arkansas Tech. You want students to stay at Pine Bluff. So how do we make them feel more at home? We've got a lot of entertainment. And students have Netflix, they've got Hulu, they can go to YouTube. But a lot of times, something disappears from Netflix. You can't get it anymore. So there's that issue of access versus retention. Do we keep the physical object or we pay for access? Well, you can't necessarily control what Netflix keeps. But if we've got the DVD, we've always got that. And then finally, this is a big growth area for libraries now, is to be the place where the research of the university is published and retained. And so we are about to launch our own, what's called an institutional repository. And the idea is that all of your faculty, they probably have all written a thesis or dissertation. You can make that available, not just to the students here, but to the whole world. Your students, if they write a good senior research paper, you want to share that. You want to show off the research that the students at Pine Bluff are doing. You can publish it and print it online, and it's accessible from around the world. It's also a way to reach out to your alumni. You want to show pictures of old yearbooks. You want to show old newspapers, old alumni magazines. All that can go up there as well. And then finally, if you just want to put up educational resources, if you want to have a video of the marching band, if you want to have a video of somebody on a panel discussion like right now, you can put that up on your institutional repository. So we're about to launch that. It took a retirement from a GovDocs position. I was able to replace that person with a digital archivist. And so that's a lot of, I know Ouachita Baptist has one of these. I think Henderson's got one now. We're going to go live later this year. Oh, I went backwards. I'm going long, I apologize, but we got 2 hours, so fewer questions. I often hear the library is the living room of the campus. The library is the hub of research. Well, back in the 20th century, that is because it's where the books were, it's where the magazines were, it's where the periodicals were. Well, a lot of that's online. So what do you need a library for? And I think of it as when your students come to the university, yes, they're getting learning in the classroom, but you want the whole university to be an environment of learning, an environment of education. And so it's very important for me that we are creating intellectual opportunities for our students, for our faculty, and even for the people in town. So we do a lot of programming. Last 3 years, we've done a 2-week-long international film festival, free and open to the public. We advertise in the local paper. A lot of times students don't come, but the faculty come. So it's a way to actually help your faculty feel at home and comfortable. We do we have an Arkansas author come every second Monday. We had one yesterday. That's a picture from the one we had in March. We do a lot of musical and arts offerings. I have a lot of eclectic, interesting people working for me in the library, and they want to share their love, and I want to encourage them to do that. So we've done quilting, some kind of folk dancing, some folk music from the Ozark region. We got the facilities. We've hosted national speakers. Last year we had a woman who this is before my time, but the Jonestown massacre is a cult that moved down to Guyana in the 70s. It was a big mess. She survived it, and so she had written a book. She talked about her experiences there. Had a lot of pictures, a lot of video. We do an annual human library event where we find interesting people who've had interesting experiences. Veterans with maybe post-traumatic stress disorder, recent immigrants, homeschool moms, people with terminal diseases. Just come, and if you're interested in their story, you can check them out and talk to them and have a personal conversation with somebody who isn't like you. And then finally, last slide. In the 21st century, since we're not just books and periodicals anymore, we are more and more called on to collaborate with faculty. And I think this is something that it's important for librarians to market themselves and push themselves into the conversation. But when I arrived at Tech, we didn't have any librarians on the curriculum committee. So my first year I was there, I saw in the campus paper that we had a new major. I'm like, oh, we have a new major. Do we have any resources to support that major? Did anybody ask a librarian? So it's been a big push in the last 2-3 years for us to be a part of faculty governance, to get on curriculum committee, to get on graduate council, to vote for faculty senators in the faculty senate, and to be a part of those conversations. Librarians are part of homework. We help make homework assignments. We can collaborate with assignment development. I'll tell you about my experience being a student 25 years ago, having no internet. You know, if you are a new faculty member in 1995, you're not even 60 years old yet, but you're used to doing the old print and paper, photocopying an article, handing it out to your students. And there's so much more that can be done with technology. So a lot of what we do now is talk to the faculty and say, here's what you can do. Here's what resources we have. We can help you create assignments. And we can even make research guides to help direct your students to the resources we have. We educate students and faculty about predatory publishing. There's a lot of publishers out there that'll contact faculty and say, hey, give us $200, we'll put up your article. It may not be peer-reviewed, it may not be scholarly, you might have mistakes in it. All that stuff's available through Google Scholar. So if you got students who think they're smart because they're going to Google Scholar, we don't know if that's good stuff or not. I show examples in class when I get to talk to them. I'll show them fake articles where they're citing characters from Star Wars and it looks good, so people just use it. And then we have librarians that we have a librarian with a master or a PhD in music, so he teaches music classes. We have somebody with a MED, she teaches education classes. And you were describing, Kathy was describing the freshman orientation classes at Monticello. We have that as well at Tech. We've got a semester-long course that some of the librarians now teach. And so we make sure we talk about how to use a library and why it's important in that, while we talk about all the other things that are good at Tech. So, all right, thanks for listening to me. I know I went over. So.
All right, well, I'm Britt-Ann Murphy from Hendrix College, and thanks, boy, I feel bad being the last person to go after these two. But I've been at Hendrix College for this is my 20th year there. I just learned that Brent and I graduated the same year from college, 1994. The college I graduated from was a small liberal arts college, and that kind of is important because that's really what I wanted to present today. So there's my contact information. If you have any questions or need to contact me or have questions about Hendrix, happy to answer them. So let me just talk about a little bit about Hendrix because it's so different from UA Pine Bluff, it's so different from UAM and from Tech. Its whole purpose of existence is really focused on the liberal arts. We're one of the oldest institutions in the state. Actually, there's a building on campus called Buehler, and it used to be Buehler Library. And it was the first freestanding academic library in the state. So we're proud. It's empty now and there are vines growing all over it, but they can't tear it down because of that designation. So we're a private institution. We don't receive state funding. We do receive federal funding. Liberal Arts College, and we'll talk about that. We have one graduate program in accounting. So you can get a master's of accounting, that's it. Everything else is undergraduate. And we're residential, so I don't know about, you know, UAPB, but we have all of our students living on campus. So they really, it has to be an exception for them to live off of campus. So they're right there. And we have about 1,200 students now. That's kind of fluctuated a bit since in my 20 years of being here. So, the liberal arts. So I went to a small liberal arts college in Ohio called Kenyon College. And what are the liberal arts? We kind of hear this term passed around. There are colleges of liberal arts within universities. But I thought I'd just see what your impressions are. What are liberal? What does that term mean to you? What does that phrase mean? Liberal arts. Anybody want to be brave and put it in your own words, or what you think? Right. So it's humanities based, maybe. Anybody else have? I mean, the media would have you think that everybody who goes to liberal arts college is liberal. That is not the foundation of that phrase. So the liberal arts, it comes from the ancient Greeks, really. So when the ancient Greeks used the word liberal arts, they were actually talking about freed men, free men, and how they can be educated enough to participate in their society. So, in that terms, the word liber is actually from Latin. So it was freed, and then ars is the origin of the word art, and it can mean art, but it also kind of means a principled practice. So it refers to people being educated enough to participate fully in their society. And of course, that only meant freed men. In ancient Greek society. But that was the basis of the liberal arts education. So they had 7 areas that they would include in the education. Things like, you know, geometry and logic and things like that. But that's kind of evolved in our country. So this used to be, liberal arts education used to be the basis of all higher education in the United States. It really was the foundation. So you would go to college to be educated in the liberal arts, and you may not have even chosen a major because the goal was to educate you broadly, right? You were exposed to all different areas, all different disciplines. And so that has changed immensely, and that has changed how liberal arts colleges like Hendrix and their libraries think and function. So when I was in college, we had an online catalog. It was, you know, DOS-based and everything, but we did have a system. We had email, but we did not have the internet and the World Wide Web sense of that. And I played hooky for a year in Germany as an au pair after I graduated, and that's when I decided to become a librarian. So when I came back from that year, I kept hearing about the internet and the World Wide Web, and I came back and I got jobs as paraprofessional in a couple different libraries, and I remember going to my college's website, Kenyon College, and it was so cool. I was so amazed. I was really glad to be going into the field at that point. So anyway, the mission of Hendrix, of the library, I think a lot of libraries, and even liberal arts college libraries, the mission is to support. And that is part of our mission, but our primary mission of the library is to educate students, to make them develop their critical thinking skills. That is an essential piece of when a student graduates from Hendrix, they should be getting all the skills and the ability to be critical about their environment, to argue, to write, to think, as a liberally educated person should. And that includes research, of course. So that includes what we teach at the library. So my goal is not to just throw resources at them or at the faculty, but to educate them, to get them thinking about, what am I doing here? What is this information? To question it, you know, to always be questioning it. All right. So I was going to talk about some of the things we have going on at Hendrix. Our students, so our culture at our little college, you know, we get the best and brightest, the creme de la creme, supposedly from Arkansas and from out of state. We have a lot of out of state, it's about 50-50 right now. So we get these kids and they're supposedly smart, right? However, there's a danger in these kids because they think they know everything. And I don't know, you probably get the same attitude no matter where you are, but you can't teach these kids because they already know it because they can use Google, right? So they understand how Google works, right? No. Nobody understands how. Google's going to make sure you don't understand how it works. So anyway, it's a little challenging in our environment because most of our students do not, it's a shame thing. They're losing face if they come and admit that they need help doing research. Well, they all need help. I mean, I don't think there's one of them that is at the level that I am in knowing how to do research. And if you're not at my level, then you need help. You need to know some things. So it's a little frustrating. 20 years I've been there, trying to integrate the library and these important skills into the classes. We've tried many different things. We've tried, there was a kind of a freshman orientation class, just as you all were talking about. It's called Explorations, and I've taught that class ever since it existed, which is about 15 years now. The library tried to insert itself in that class, but it just didn't work because it's not a research class. So, so there's some issues there with the library and trying to get integrated into the curriculum. We do have a librarian serving on the curriculum committee, thank God. But some real challenges, and we've tried and failed many times, learning from our successes and failures. But one thing that has worked, I don't know, I have a librarian who's new-ish to our library, Janice Weddle, and she is also from a liberal arts. She went to a public liberal arts university in Missouri called Truman State. And she kind of decided, well, you know, we can't make progress. We have these kind of brick walls we're headed up against when we try to insert ourselves into the classroom of teaching faculty. So maybe we should focus on other things. And she's developed a program called the Library Associates Program. We call all of our student workers library assistants. And of this group, which is about 25 students, we've promoted about 5 or 6 of them every year to become library associates. So this means that we are using them in very practical ways to be ambassadors for the library. We teach them more developed skills about, you know, research and our resources, and they help us teach our instruction classes. So there's always a library associate there to help teach that class. We collaborate with the Writing Center on our campus, and we've also been collaborating with the Peer Learning, which is code for tutoring, on our campus. But as again, I mean, and we all kind of share the same mission. But at Hendrix, again, there are a lot of students who think they don't need help with writing, right? They're the best and brightest. They know this. They've had it in high school. They don't need us. So, so this is kind of a subversive way maybe to get at through their peers, to develop those skills and then have them work with those students who won't come to the professionals. It's been great. These students are incredibly creative. They have great ideas. They like being taken seriously. And they've really helped us develop a lot of our programming. Just like Brent, we've had kind of a mission, is that our mission is to educate, but not just in academic resources. We want to educate, we want to be the intellectual hub of our community, and our community at Hendrix has always included the people who live around us in the community. So we like to invite people in from the community to take part in our programming. Some of the things up there, so we check out bikes at Hendrix. We work closely with the bike clubs, the Hendrix Bike Revolution. One of our student worker positions is a bike mechanic, and he supervises a couple of other people who are bike mechanics, and they make their services available for free for students. But we have 13 bikes that we check out currently for 3 days. So we like kind of developing that part of activism and kind of access to, for students they don't all have cars, especially international students. They don't have cars, and it's hard to get around Conway without a car. So that provides a service to them. We have programs. Last year we had a program for World War I, where we invited a professor in to give a talk about Virginia Woolf and World War I and the writings that she did. And we had the display that was touring the state from the history, from the archives, I guess it's called now. I want to say the History Commission. Does that exist? So we try to get displays in and then kind of coordinate programming around that. We've had poetry slams at our library, which were very fun. Just different kinds of activities. One thing that was really fun last year is we had a labyrinth, a woman in our community who has written a book about labyrinths. And, those are the kind of the mazes. They're not really mazes, but you follow a path. They're kind of like a tool of contemplation. So you find them in a lot of cathedrals and outside, and people make labyrinths. And she had written a book about labyrinths. And so we invited her in to talk, but then we also had, there's a day, International Labyrinth Day, where people walk labyrinths at 1 o'clock on that day. And we have a labyrinth at Hendrix, it's kind of pictured right there. So we had that as part of the day, but it's always early May, so it's always kind of at the tail end of finals. And contemplation, taking that time away for contemplation is great. So we had her come in and give a talk. We had the labyrinth walk, but then one of our student associates came up with the idea of creating a labyrinth in our stacks. So she went up, she designed it based on going in between the stacks, and then put down tape which led people on the right path. So there were people who were walking a labyrinth in our stacks upstairs as part of their contemplation, part of their mindfulness during finals week. It was really fun. And then we have things like Earth Day. This was a student project to design art with plastic and things. So there's a lot going on in our library. We're kind of a non-traditional library because I am one of the noisiest people. I have been shushed on many an occasion. So we don't shush on the first floor anyway. We like noise, we like activity, we like groups coming in. We recently were told that we're going to have the freshman football players in for a mandatory study hall in the fall. And so we welcome all these groups. We love having students there. We have the academic resources, which have changed in exactly the same way that you all were speaking of. We kind of don't have the same pressures that you have or that UAPB has because we're not a research institution. Our primary job of faculty is actually to teach, not to do research. So that is still the focus of our institution. And so we don't really support graduate level at all research. We support what our students are doing in the classroom. That's our mission. So anyway, so we can have a bit more fun. I think we have a therapy dog program. So in the middle there, that's Duke. He's my dog. He's a certified therapy dog. He comes in weekly and spends time with students. I have a student assistant help me. That's JD right there. He's the guy who's helping me this year. We have therapy cat right there. Moon, the therapy cat. Very sweet. But it's really more of a place than a place to hold resources, and that's been, of course, the most major shift, I think, in the last 20 years, is that libraries used to be places to hold resources. Now they're a place to hold people and to have interactions between people, to be community centers. And that's also, I think, we kind of are slipping into the role of public libraries in that way. We're sort of the public library for our communities at universities and colleges. But students come in, they can be stressed, they usually are stressed about their academics, it's very demanding. They can also chill there, they can find a noisy place, they can find a quiet place. We like to think of our libraries really being owned by students. We're really there, they're the ones who are paying my salary, not the administrators. It's the students who are paying my salary. So my job is really to be there and to make the library a place for them. So that was all I had to say right now. I don't know what you want to.
I'm LaVorge Martin. Most of you know me. I'm here in the library in the tech service area. I do the technology here in the library. I do a lot of things in the library, but that's one of my major things, the technology area. So what I'm going to do is kind of sum it up and show some of the things that we're doing here in the library and conclude with a short video. But as our other panelists was talking about, we're talking about how the role of the library has evolved over the. When I came here in 2000, we had like 16 computers. I don't know. My monitor down. But it was about 16 computers in the library, like 8 on the first floor, 8 on the second floor. Over the time since we've been here, we went up to 48, and this year alone, we went up to 100 computers in the library. And so we see how technology is driving how the library is evolving, and we have to work, we have to kind of keep up with current trends and what students are currently doing. Because like it's not about just coming in the library. Most of the students come in, they're coming in. Most of the time we think because we have computers and everything, we think students coming in for social media. Most of the time the students I have dealt with, they actually coming in and do research, do assignments and things like that, and also take tests and things like that, because they can do that online now. And in the library, we support them with different softwares they need for their particular class, like My IT Lab. We also have, like we do like SPS for research. We also have the like Respondent, which is a lockdown browser for them to actually be able to take their tests here in the library. So, and we collaborate with other areas here on campus in order to do that. Also, we have to look at now that we're no longer a domain just for books. We have, as I was saying, technology, and some of the things that we have done over the years. We have updated, we have Avon, which is academic videos, and then we have Canopy, which is also academic videos. Also LibGuides we use, and as my colleagues have spoken about, we also do the databases as well. And because most of everything is online these days, and we have to kind of cater to what the students are basically using. And those are the ones who kind of drive what we do here in the library. Because they will tell you, well, I had this at my school. So, we have to try to keep up and try to make sure we're providing the things they need in order to be successful with their academics. Also in the library, as we continue to evolve, we have space, we have collaborative space, and some of our collaborative space, we actually renovated the second floor. That was our bound cereal. You heard Brent mention them earlier. They went out the door, and that was in 2015. And so also we have our digital learning commons, which is right on the other side of the wall, where we have laptops and things where students can come and actually do research using the laptops that we have on display. We also have a library study hall. They have also Ms. McGee does that, and we have a library study hall. Not just that we have the athlete, but we have library study hall for all students on campus. And in that part, we have a partnership with the Student Success Center where they actually provide the tutors for the library in order to operate the student study hall. And we're here, I have a boot camp. Last summer, we did a boot camp with nursing where they actually came in and worked with the students so they could study for their NCLEX, the test they have to take once they finish their degrees. Also, we do information literacy on a daily basis, often, and the librarians here in the library, we're divided into liaisons for different schools and in different departments. And so each one of us do different information literacy, and in that we collaborate with the faculty as well, and they to ensure that because like for instance, because like right now I have in nursing, we have a tool that's called Research Companion that's available from ProQuest, and it actually teaches the student how to do research, how to narrow their topic, how to not plagiarize, and the instructor has the student, they have to go through that tutorial, and once they finish that tutorial, they have to verify through the library that they have completed that tutorial. And so that's some of the ways that we collaborate with students. Also, in the library, we do an accreditation. We are a vital part of accreditation because like when the site visitor comes now, they visit the library and they want to know what resources that we have to support the academic areas that we have, that we cater to here on campus. And it's not just, it's not just about the books, because they don't even go in the stacks. They're looking at what electronic journals we have, what digital resources, ebooks. And in that process, we create a resource guide, which we compile resources that we have available in that particular discipline. And also the library, when they do a self-study, every program that's going up for accreditation has to do a self-study. And there's a question in there about the library and about the library resource. We do our own statement that we provide to each academic program that's going up for accreditation. And so that way, there's no assumption about what the library provides and that we have more than books, because we're able to speak for ourselves, and a lot of times we have to be our own advocates. Okay, and here we have to realize, how the culture has changed, and that's what we were talking about. And here is this is our library page, and this is our line search, and this is our, it's a cloud-based integrated system. So you can use it anywhere, 24/7, on campus, off campus, and to reach our resources. And so that was one of the things that we upgraded to last year before last. But it's cloud-based. So again, 24/7 access to the resources, and that's very important, because we're not just researching when we're here on this campus from 8 to 5. Research is going on after hours, and we need to be able to provide our students with what they need at all times. Also, I mentioned about we added additional computers. As an institution, like I said, it's competitive. We have to market ourselves. And the library, a lot of times we're often maybe looked over as an academic unit, but we are an academic unit. So we have to be competitive, we have to market ourselves. We have to get out and we have to do things differently than the way we've been doing them in the past years. And that is basically what we were talking about with technology, how we have changed with technology. And so I'm going to end this with a brief, a little quick video. Music provided by the Marching Machine of the Mid-South, the UAPB band.
So can we give our panel a round of applause? So my first question is to the panel. Have any of your institutions tried embedding a librarian and library resources into an online course to improve the quality of student research?
Well, I tried to do that, but as far as I got, what I told you before, the Blackboard tab in, that we have in the Blackboard, the library tab in Blackboard. But I have never been actually embedded in the course, no.
Pretty similar experience here. I myself have not done it. What I encourage the librarians at Tech to do is to wait on the teaching faculty to come to us first. We've got a lot of great ideas, but they're the teaching. We have master's degrees, but they've got PhDs in their discipline. So I've got a lot of cool stuff for them to do research on, but I want to wait and have them ask us in before we say, hey, put us in your class. We have the ability to do that. We do have one of our librarians, Sherry Tinarella. She teaches an online research class. It's a standalone class in the education department. And like what Mrs. Bart was saying, we've got research guides, LibGuides, that we can help show students how to find the research resources. So we can do embedding, but we wait and provide that service to the teaching faculty they ask for.
We don't have online courses at Hendrix. We got all our students right there. There are no computers, no nothing. So, but we have tried. We have experimented with. 1 year we got to use part of a grant to stipend faculty, 3 different faculty, and 3 of us embedded in different ways. So one of us, it was very invasive. Was the most, was the librarian went to that class, almost every class, and was there. It was basically taking the class. And then kind of an in-between of that was, I did a survey of the class, a kind of pre and post test to see what they knew, and then taught them an instruction session and did a post test. I don't know if that's really embedding, really. And then our other librarian kind of did a more traditional thing, what we do. I think she taught a couple of instruction sessions for computer science class. So it was an interesting experiment, but faculty don't want another presence in their classroom, usually, is what I've found, especially if it's going to be a physical presence. Because in some ways they're very protective about that classroom space and time. And so it's kind of hard to find faculty who are willing to give up that much time or space. But it all depends on how you define embeddedness.
Okay.
We used to do the face-to-face thing. We had a course, we taught a unit in a freshman program. That didn't work for us. The best thing that would work for us in terms of face-to-face is this information literacy thing where they invite us.
Right.
Presentations to them.
Right.
I don't know how that would work with you. I just don't know how it works, but it's worth a try.
She talked about embedded library. We have attempted, but here so far where we have, because like she said, online classes, not face-to-face. We do some face-to-face where we go to classroom and work with different faculty. But online, basically, all we basically have is like a Blackboard. And we have, I work with the distance learning director, and we have a link that's embedded in Blackboard for the library. That's basically what we have.
Okay. The next question, this question I'm going to ask came from the Association of Research and College Libraries. And this is dealing with academic libraries changing perceptions of faculty status and tenure. I'm just going to read a little bit of it, and then I'm going to ask you the question. Researchers found that the tenured librarian rated tenure as more beneficial than libraries librarians without tenure who has 6 or more years of work experience at their institution. So my question is, what are your criteria for tenure and promotion, and are you hiring librarians with tenure track that they have to get tenure?
I'll start on that. At Tech, we do have promotion. So when you get hired in, you're an assistant librarian, and there's a promotion path that's similar to what a teaching faculty person does, in that you maintain a portfolio and you demonstrate service and activities on campus. We don't have tenure, and actually I've worked at 4 different colleges, and I've had faculty status, but I've never had tenure. And frankly, I find it beneficial, because that's one fewer thing I need to worry about. I don't need to necessarily worry about collegiality, or am I producing research? Am I producing research that anybody actually wants to use? And so I feel it creates a level of insecurity and maybe competition that I can maybe understand at a large comprehensive research university, but I've only ever been at liberal arts colleges like Brent, or at middle-sized master's level places like I am now. So I feel like I've got the best of both worlds. I'm part of the conversation with faculty, but I don't have to worry about producing an unknown amount so that I can hang on to my job.
Well, and at Hendrix, so the small liberal arts colleges, I'm going to write a book on this someday, about the history of librarians and libraries at liberal arts colleges. But you know, a lot of times when they first developed, the faculty were the librarians as well. So I think librarians were always seen as officers of instruction at liberal arts colleges. But at many places, and oddly, it seems like the more prestigious the liberal arts college, the less likely that librarian will have faculty status. And it's really rare. I don't know how rare. I don't have data to back this up, but from my colleagues I know at other institutions across the nation, it's really rare to have tenure at a liberal arts college for librarians. So at Hendrix, it's kind of the best of both worlds. And when I was a young librarian, I was like, my God, we're going to get tenure. We're going to be treated with respect, right? And it doesn't work that way. Kind of depends on what you want, what tenure means. So I would value the academic freedom protections that tenure gives to faculty. That would, as a librarian, that is one thing I miss. I feel like I cannot speak in certain situations as a faculty member. But as an administrator, what a nightmare. And when I became director, I kind of realized, I don't think tenure, it's a very stressful process when I've seen from my colleagues who go through it in the state, especially at UCA. It's a very stressful process. It kind of is unnecessary for what librarians do. And it does kind of end up, you're trying to find something to publish about. And if people want to publish something, if they have something to say, they should just say it. They shouldn't have this pressure to manufacture something of scholarship. So I kind of don't think it's necessary for librarians. Now at different institutes, I think the argument at universities where most librarians, I think in the state, except for Tech, go through tenure. I think there's more of an argument to be made because you are supporting graduate programs, and so having the extra degrees and so forth, and extra experience as a scholar is probably beneficial to supporting what other faculty are doing. I do think that faculty status is essential for librarians, no matter what. The institutions that I know that don't have faculty status for librarians, they are treated as second-class citizens, even more so than we are as faculty. You do not make as high a salary, and you are not integrated into the faculty processes, into that governance process. You're not serving on committees. You're not kind of, rubbing elbows with the faculty, with what you need to do in order to get what you need done for the library for students. So that's kind of the way it is. We do have a promotion process like at Tech, where we come in as assistant associate, I'm full. And there's a salary bump with each of those categories. We are paid about, I think, $15,000 less than as an entering librarian. Starting librarians make $15,000 less than what starting faculty make, as far as I can tell. So there's a discrepancy, and we're 12 months, and they're 9 months. So there are some discrepancies there.
Well, at UAM, it's kind of similar to Brent. We have faculty status. We do go through tenure. All of our librarians are tenure track positions, including the director. It is a stressful process. When I went up for tenure, it was very stressful. I have tenure. I am an associate, so we started as assistant associate, and that's it. And then you're director. There's no full professor at our campus. Sometimes I feel like, it's not necessary the way our campus is set up. I do think faculty status is necessary for librarians as well, just like Brent, but the tenure process, maybe not so much, other than the stability it provides. Other than that, some faculty, some do, give you that same respect that other faculty do. But some of them, librarians are not considered the same faculty as the teaching faculty. But we do have committees that we're on and things of that nature. I'm on the committee of committees in my campus, so we do have that beneficial as well. But as for the tenure process, that's a lot of stress for
And
nothing.
then you don't get research. I don't know a single librarian in the state gets released for a sabbatical.
No,
Does anybody
we
get
do
that?
not.
I don't think I've heard of that in the
No,
state.
I haven't heard of that as well. And the pay is definitely not where teaching faculty is.
We do have tenure status here. I am tenured, and as they said, it is kind of tedious. And we're judged by the same standards that the faculty here on campus are judged by, but we do not. Because like it was said earlier, they're 9 months and we're 12 months. But we still have to do the exact same thing they do in order to have tenure. And it's kind of like with us, with tenure and promotion, it's kind of like once you, like you said, you got assistant and you have associate. And we have what they call full library, in which some argue is full professor, but they say it's full library, and we're in the UA system, so we're governed by 405.1. And so it kind of lay out the guidelines for our tenure and promotion.
They just cut out our full professorship within
It
the
changes.
last couple of years.
Yes,
Which
when
is
they-
important. I feel very strongly that our tenure system is like days of segregation,
Mhm.
separate and supposedly equal.
It's
It's
not.
not anywhere near that. So I think it's really unconstitutional.
Yeah, because like even been talking to some colleagues, like they get like 5 days a year for research that's in tenure track position. We don't get any release time, but they do. They get 5 days and they call it research.
UAPB lost out on sabbaticals when we became a part of the university
UAC.
system. We lost that. That was so unfortunate.
Yeah, but it's a bit different because like the teachers have 3 months off. We don't have any time off. We work 12 months year round. When students are gone, we're still here, so. But the teachers is different. When the students are gone, the teachers are gone.
That's it.
But the librarians, we work 12 months.
Yeah. They must be.
Okay. My next question, what is the role of your academic library in leading institutional efforts? Let me just start off. Speak up. Okay, sorry. What is the role of your academic library in leading institutional efforts that will drive progress and earn triangles of cost, access, and quality?
Or I can
So-
say, I can say, for us, you know, like the library has a budget. And as we were saying earlier, resources go up, but money doesn't. So we find ourselves like, that's where we evaluate collections and reallocate resources for different resources to ensure that we have quality resources for all our students and faculty.
We try to create a place that students want to come to and maybe save some money along the way. So I mentioned the DVD collection that we have. So that's free entertainment right there.
Right.
If you don't count Fayetteville and the UCA Conway, they're both open 24 hours. We're open 107 hours a week, and I understand we're presently third place behind those two. So if you want to, I feel like we cater to the introverts on campus. Because if you want to get away and not deal with people, come to the library at 6 o'clock on Friday or at 7 o'clock on Saturday. There won't be anybody there to find. So saving money. We have relative to other colleges of our size, we've got a pretty small budget. But we try to save money by taking advantage of interlibrary loan. We get a lot of databases from the state. The Traveler Consortium pays for a lot of it, so that helps out quite a bit. But we try to pinch pennies, try to get a database for every major, but not overdo it. Just make sure everybody got something.
And we do the same as well. I constantly evaluate and use the usage statistics to see if they're actually using those resources they were subscribed to. And that was one thing that I found out last year with LexisNexis, that compared to the price we were paying for LexisNexis and the usage, it didn't justify paying it. So we
We
dropped
took that last year too.
Yeah, 'cause that was just getting ridiculous. So we ended up, trying to find something in the place of it. And we tried time online. So that's what we're doing now. So you have to look at that and make those judgment calls. You have to look at whether they're actually using that resource, the faculty and the students. Does it align with the curriculum as well? So you've got to constantly evaluate those resources.
Well, at Hendrix, despite what people think about Hendrix across the state, we don't have a lot of money. And we've been experiencing, like a lot of small liberal arts colleges across the nation, declining enrollments. And when you don't have a huge endowment, that's a big problem. So the library has we've been creative in how we access resources. For instance, Canopy, I see that you all have Canopy. I really want to have Canopy. I know. But we can't afford it. So I, as the director and also somebody who's really involved with the Arkansas Library Association, I go to a lot of consortial meetings. And most recently, I've been discovering that, we're pretty good about sharing in the academic world in Arkansas with ArcLink, but we haven't really tapped into the public sphere, school sphere. And I think we're too siloed, and we really got to just all start talking together, getting together, talking about what we have, what our constituencies need, and how we can share. So I found out that the Lehman Library in North Little Rock has Canopy. And if folks go to the Conway Public Library, the Faulkner County Public Library, which is about a block away from Hendrix, if they walk down there and get a card that allows them to access the public library system in Arkansas, well, they can go down to Lehman Library and get a card for Lehman, and then they can use that from anywhere. So, and now I'm trying to pressure John McGraw, the public library director at Faulkner County, to get Canopy, so it'd be even easier. So, it's amazing what what is possible when everybody from different types of libraries, and we're all talking to each other and collaborating together. That is where, that has been our saving grace at Hendrix as we kind of experienced budget cuts. I cut $80,000 from our budget this year. And we need to cut another $1 million from the budget next year. We get the traveler databases, like everybody else. But you know, the expectation at Hendrix, we kind of get all these fancy professors, you know, from Yale, and they come out of graduate school and they come to our fancy little college, and they have expectations about what they want to access. So we have JSTOR, we have kind of some of the fancier suites of database. We kept the EBSCO package because that's what everybody was used to using, and they didn't want to take it away. And so, you know, we kind of have all these pressures to keep the resources at a very high standard, but we're having to be very creative in how we We finally, we only have 5 journals from Science Direct. We got rid of it. I would love just to eliminate every Elsevier. I would like to blow them off the planet. Because I feel very passionately about publishers who charge way more than they should, and who profit from us. And so another thing that we've been doing recently, even at Hendrix, and I don't know how much movement there is at UAPB or anywhere else, but we've been really looking at open access materials and having faculty collaborate to, as departments, to kind of select textbooks that are free, or to develop textbooks that they want to use in a liberal arts setting. And I think this movement is very promising. It's very promising, and I'm hoping that we can get some traction going in the state and really get this as a way for students, for people of little means, those are all of our students, to access materials and not have to pay thousands of dollars for them. So anyway, so that's another initiative.
With your
Me, okay. Brent and Britt.
with your repository,
Yes.
did you have any pushback from your faculty as far as the thesis or the dissertation, as far as like royalty fees and things like that, to put them in your repository?
Oh, sure. I anticipate that. At some institutions, faculty are reluctant to sharing. Part of it is they don't want to put out, they don't want to populate the institutional repository with research that might later get published in a prestigious scholarly journal. So they want to hold back. I think some of it's just shyness that I'm so much better than when I wrote that dissertation. Please don't put that up. So I've seen presentations of best practices. Some institutional repositories, they create the software, they create access to the software, and then they wait for the faculty to populate it themselves. And often what happens is people have good intentions, but they don't have time, and they don't figure it out. So our approach is, I hired a full-time person with student workers, and the approach is, we're going to put your stuff up until you tell us not to. And I checked with my boss, the Vice President of Academic Affairs. I said, do you have any problems with this? And he said, it's true public information. Anybody could do an interlibrary loan request and find a copy of someone's dissertation. So you go ahead and do it. I don't want to create enemies with the faculty. So if they don't want stuff up, we'll just put up a citation, but we won't have a full text link. There are some journals that will allow us to put up a copy of the article. If I can at least put up the citation of what the faculty are doing, the institutional repository will serve the purpose of showing the world our faculty do research. Here's what they do. If you come as a student and study at this place, here's what your professors are experts in. So it's a library tool, but it's a marketing tool as well. But yeah, we're gonna put it up ourselves until they tell us not to.
So if they tell you, if they don't say anything to you, we'll just leave it up?
That's right. That's right. But one of the cool things, the software that we use, which comes from Elsevier, this kind of nasty public fee, right? One really cool thing about it is that you can set it up for weekly or monthly for any faculty member or any student to get a report of 13 people in the world looked at your stuff. here's where they are in the world. So people like to Google themselves and like, oh, where am I on the internet? What kind of pictures are up? So just to find out, wow, I matter. Someone's actually looking at someone in Dubai or somebody in Romania is looking at my research. Wow, I feel special. Oh, that's cool. The place where I come from, we were one of the early adopters of this institutional repository software from Press. And so I had master's thesis in history, and I've written some articles. So around the time I was interviewing at Tech, I was getting, suddenly there was great interest in my research. It was all coming from Russellville, Arkansas. So the people who were interviewing me wanted to see what kind of guy is he some kind of kook or quack? They want to look at my research. So it was kind of fun. I could tell that they were looking. Nobody's looking at my stuff now.
Okay, thank you.
That's one of the things I think we could work together as a state, is to get an institutional repository for everybody, so that the big guys who can afford it can help out the folks who would never ever have the means to get something like Press. Because it would be, and I think we could go to the legislature and because that would help with retention, it would help with showcasing Arkansas and the institutions in Arkansas and the faculty and students and so forth. So.
Do we have any more questions? Yeah.
The dog therapy working.
It's great. I'm a big animal person. We kind of have a culture of animals on our campus. We have a cat colony that has been, there are about 16 cats that have been spayed or neutered and then released back onto the campus. So they were kind of feral. They were never really feral, but no one cared for them. So now we have a student group that feeds these cats and takes care of them, and they attract students. The students love them. We just had a mayoral election for the cats and campaigning that went on and so forth. It was great. But the dogs, so I knew that Harvard and Yale both had therapy dogs that actually were checked out from those institutions. And I thought, well, Yale and Harvard can do this, why can't we do this? So I looked for a therapy dog to adopt for my family, or a dog that had a mellow disposition. And then I trained him and then just started bringing him weekly. And it's been, there's kind of a loyal group of students. These are usually freshmen who are missing their families, they're missing their animals, who are like siblings to them. A lot of them have dogs they're like siblings, and they miss them. So in some small way, I think what we've been doing with these therapy animals has probably helped retention. It's probably, and I know a couple of students who wouldn't be there if Duke hadn't been there for them. So that connection, any kind of connection you can make with students, because again, our motto at Hendrix is unto the whole person. Well, you can't just look at the academics. That's not a whole person. Whole person is, how are you doing mentally? How are you doing physically? Are you getting sleep? Are you eating? Are you making connections? Are you social? That's a whole person. And so if the library can help with those other aspects, I think that's a good thing.
Thank you all so much. Let's give our panel another hand. We do have certificates of participation for our panelists.
Oh, nice.
This certificate is awarded to Ms. Kathy Davis, April 9, 2019, recognition for your contribution as a panelist on the evolving role of libraries in supporting higher education discussion panel. University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, John Brown Watson Memorial Library, 2019 National Library Week Observance. Thank you. I also have one here from Mr. Brent. I won't even try that last name.
Thank you very much.
And Ms. Britt. Our final presenter, Mrs. Lockett.
Good morning. I'm here to do the closing remarks, and I just want to say to our panelists, job well done. You gave me some ideas of some things that I can do here on University of Arkansas Pine Bluff campus to kind of involve myself more into our academic world. So thank you for that, Ms. Martin. Job well done in putting together this this event. So that's my closing remarks. We will have a tour. We'll have refreshments upstairs and a tour to show you some of the new things that we have here in the library. And we thank everyone for coming. You made this event a success. Thank you.